Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 14 Thursday night showdown between the Dallas Cowboys and the Chicago Bears. NFL DFS Week 14 right here. I'm going to break down all the different plays, different groups that I would want to build, the way that I want to attack this slate, because we do have an interesting slate. There's a few injuries that we're going to have to monitor. Concussion, guys that are in concussion protocol who missed the last game or the last couple games, and it's affecting certain other players on the slate that, you know, become a value play because now they're being thrust into a situation with a little bit more playing time, with more snaps, with more targets, available targets, running more routes, and all those sorts of things. So I like it when there's more value that opens up on a game or a slate like this. We had a great Monday Night Football game. Really high scoring, lots of touchdowns, defense, kicking, lots of different ways to score, and a lot of different ways that you could have won on that showdown. Like, we had to sweat all the way up until the end of the game. This game does not really appear to be as wild or have a path to being as wild as that game did. We do have some volume on Dallas that we can attack. We do have some value on Chicago that we can attack, and some places where the volume is there as well. So let's get right to it. Let's go into this slate and let's see what we got. Sitting right up top, there's two guys that I think are head and shoulders above. One, let's start with Dak Prescott. He's been outstanding this year. He's had a couple of bust games like he did in week 12, but that was in a really ridiculous weather situation and in New England against a really tough defense. But he's been extremely solid and steady with some ceiling games. And for a quarterback, for me, a ceiling game is something between 30 and 40 fantasy points. He has the ability to get there. He has the ability to throw for multiple touchdowns and has game-breaking wide receivers that can do that in Cooper and Gallup. He has the ability to get there on the ground for you as well. He's had 6 rushing touchdowns each of the last 3 seasons. So pretty consistent with his legs on top of that. So he gives you the ability to have a really good floor and a really good ceiling. As always, I tend to cap the amount of captains that are quarterbacks in my lineups when I'm making multiple lineups, whether you're making 20 or 50 or 100 or 150. I tend to cap that at 10% max for each quarterback because of the fact that there's only really been about 10 or 11% of the showdowns ever that have been won with a quarterback in the slot. Now that are in the slot, in the flex position, or damn it, in the captain spot. So if you've got that quarterback in the captain spot, and because if you're using an optimizer, they're going to have the highest mean projection, the highest median projection, the optimizers are always going to love them, and it's going to plow them into the captain spot way more than that 10 or 11%, right? So basically, I tend to limit them at captain to keep it to 10% each. I know that gives me an overage over that 10 or 11%. It gives me 20% max at captain. It doesn't always work out that way. It doesn't always end up there, but that's my way of limiting it. Now, a guy like Prescott can break the slate as the captain. We've seen him have those ceiling games before. If you're going to build a lineup with him at captain, if you're building by hand, you want to have at least 2 of his pass catchers in any group where you're building a Dak Prescott at captain lineup. If you're using a lineup builder, and people ask which one I use, the lineup builder that I use is over at Daily Roto. Go to dailyroto.com. There's a link down below in the description that you can click that will take you there. If you use promo code SmizzLife at checkout, you'll get 10% off of a new membership. They do great work for college football, NFL, NBA, golf, baseball, everything, NHL as well. So go give them a look and go browse around the site and see if it's what you're looking for on top of all that. If I'm building that using the Daily Roto lineup builder, I am going to set my groups for all Dak Prescott lineups. And we did a video on this with me and Drewby at the beginning of the year. If you want to go check that video out, there should be a little link that pops up on the screen right about now that's going to show you the how to win on DraftKings playlist, or the how to win on DraftKings video. That'll teach you how to make all those groups for Showdown. I'm going to build a group with Dak Prescott using every single one of his pass catchers. Now, I'm not going to use Ezekiel Elliott in that group, as good as Ezekiel Elliott is, and you guys know how much I like to just pound volume into these lineups, and this is another spot where Ezekiel Elliott does project to get 20 to 25 touches in this game with very good usage in the passing game. But he doesn't get a ton of usage. He's not a 7 to 10 target guy. So I'm not going to use him in the group on most games. Yeah, he was against Buffalo. It's a different scenario. Most games, 4, 3, 3, 0. If he ends up in a Dak Prescott lineup, I'm fine with that. But I'm not going to force the optimizer to use him in those lineups. So basically, I'm going to have a group that means that's going to force it to use at least 2 of every one of the Dallas pass catchers. Guys like Amari Cooper, who has massive big game potential, has done exceptionally well while he plays with Dallas. Like, he's had massive games way more often. He was very boomer bust when he played for the Raiders. Now that he's on Dallas, he's got a lot more, or a lot higher floor because of more consistent volume. And they're using him to challenge downfield a lot as well. Gallup's had himself a fantastic breakthrough season. Targets have been down the last couple of weeks, but again, weather in New England and a game against Buffalo, a very, very tough defense in their own right. Chicago, more of a reputation defense at this point. They're living off of that instead of their actual production as a great defense. They're beatable. So it's showdown. Everybody's going to be on everybody. Everybody's going to be highly owned because it's one game. But there could be people that say, well, I don't know. Michael Gallup's only got 12 targets the last couple of games. That's not a mistake I want to make. Randall Cobb, he's returning to practice on Tuesday. We're assuming that means he's going to play. If everything's a go, he's going to be in that group as well. So will Jason Witten. So will the kicker, because kicker, while it doesn't correlate 100% with quarterback, it's not diametrically opposed to quarterback like it is to running back. If a quarterback's piling up yards and getting you to that 300-yard bonus, they're constantly moving the ball down the field, and therefore the kicker can be in that group as well. Basically every pass catcher, Jarwin, and everybody else. Probably not Tavon Austin. I'm going to make sure that I have at least 2 of those guys in every one of my Dak Prescott groups, and I'm going to build a bring back group using at least 1 of every one of the Chicago players, including the quarterback, the running backs, every viable pass catcher, not the backup quarterback. Taylor Gabriel is somebody that we do have to talk about. Still in concussion protocol, did not practice Monday. If Taylor Gabriel is out, okay, that's going to open up a lot more routes and a lot more targets for one Anthony Miller, who just went completely bonkers on the Thanksgiving slate and sits at only 7K on this slate. It also opens up routes and snaps for somebody like Javon Wims, who at 3,200 gives you a little bit of value. And if you get 4 to 7 targets out of Javon Wims and his big body, he might be able to be a target. Well, he is a target once they get into the red zone because of that big body. And when you couple that with the injury to Braunacker, he might be somebody that gets an extra end zone target this week where he might not have gotten that without both of those guys. So I'll build this group with the Dak Prescott at quarterback, or at captain and quarterback, to have a bring back group with at least 1 of everybody on these Bears teams. And that's going to force all those. So I'll do the same thing with Trubisky, right? Like if we've got Trubisky at captain, if you're that type of bold player and you want Trubisky at captain, he's been up and down. He's had 2 good weeks in a row. He's obviously cheaper than Dak Prescott. We're going to build those same groups. The first group we're going to build is with the Chicago pass catchers. Not going to use I'm going to use one running back, but not the other. So I'm probably going to include Tariq Cohen in that group. I'm not going to include Montgomery, definitely including Miller, definitely including Wims. We'll find out who else is available at, to run routes for them and to do stuff. Jesper Horsted did catch a touchdown last week, but it was his only target. He didn't run a ton of routes either. This is where the majority of all this is going to go. I will include whichever tight end is the lead tight end for the Bears in that group. Let's just say it's Horsted, but his projection is going to be so low and his value projection is going to be low as well in the instance that Braunacker is going to be out, that he won't get used in a lot of lineups. I'm going to include at least 2 of every one of these players in Trubisky captain lineups. And then we're also going to build that bring back group with at least 1 of every Dallas player, including running backs and quarterbacks, just like we talked about before. Kickers and defenses. We've seen more games this year that have won with kickers and defenses in multiplicity, meaning more than 1 of them in lineups. And this is a week where, with a total as low as it is, and a player like Trubisky being sack prone and turnover prone, and Dak has made his mistakes as well from time to time, and you have kickers that do have some length to them, and Brett Maher. When I build those kicker in, I usually build in a group here, right? With both kickers and both defenses. And I've only got one team checked, so it's not going to bring both up. So as I build in both of those into the group, right? So I've got the Bears and I've got Pinero. I'll typically limit this group. I'm going to build a group with these 4 players, not at captain, just a group around these 4 players that are available, and make sure that I'm using only one. I'm probably going to separate those this week and include only one of the Cowboys defense and Bears defense and only one of Brett Maher and Pinero in a lineup. So it'll have max of 1 of each kicker and a max of 1 of each defense in any lineup. That does not mean that every lineup will have 2. That basically only means that no lineup will have both kickers. No lineup will have both defenses. Some lineups might have a kicker and a defense in them, but those are going to be low based on the amount of value that I think we have on this slate, because your odds are much higher when you've got a really good chance at a ceiling game. Now, defenses can have a ceiling game, right? We've seen defenses break slates all year long, but it's very, very highly variant and somewhat unpredictable. You also have 2 defenses that are inconsistent with the amount of pressure that they put on opposing passers. And very honestly, two offenses that probably don't want to throw the ball a ton this week, right? So I could see this game kind of being slow and slogging. You want to play defenses when they're playing against teams that want to throw the ball a ton, that are going to be dropping back a ton. This game being played in Chicago, Dallas should run the ball a lot if we're projecting game flow, which is going to lead to a specific type of game output. So for me, the best couple of captains on this slate would be somebody like Ezekiel Elliott with the volume that he gets, Allen Robinson, who has seen some massive ceiling games this year, and building around him. And then I do want to talk about this for a second, because I only talked about the quarterbacks at captain. If I'm building wide receiver at captain groups, I'm going to go through and build groups for every wide receiver that I intend on using that could show up in captain. And when I have an Allen Robinson in captain group, I'm going to build one group around Allen Robinson, and that's going to say that any lineup that has Allen Robinson in captain must include Mitch Trubisky in the lineup at flex. I'm going to build that for every single one of the pass catchers that I build lineups around on Chicago. I'm going to do the same anytime that I've got a Dallas player in the captain spot that's a pass catcher. I'm going to make sure that Dak Prescott, the optimizer at Daily Roto, is going to force Dak Prescott into every single one of those Amari Cooper at captain, Michael Gallup at captain lineups, Jason Witten at captain if you're going that route as well, so that it's going to build you the best lineups that it can possibly build. If you're going to enter a bunch of lineups, Lineup Builder will definitely help you do that. If you're going to enter one lineup by hand, it can give you a good heads up on where the projections think these are the highest options for you, to give you an idea of how it wants to build, which will help you with percentage owned, which will help you with breaking down your lineups. So it's definitely a tool that can help you whether you're mass multi-entering, entering 1 or 3 lineups, or building by hand. So definitely go give that a look-see. And that's going to do it for this video. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Drop a like, subscribe to the channel, ring that notifications bell. And until that next video, I will catch you guys later. Best of luck. Bye.
He's a legend.